the day. Please don't be late. Call your friends, I'll call my friends. Let's go and be changed. TMP is doing the most. TMP is doing the most. It's the time of the day. Please don't be late. Call your friends, I'll call my friends.
Hello everybody, welcome back to The Miracle Perspective, and this is the TMP Legends Show. Ladies and gentlemen, it's needless to say that we have a leadership problem. Not only in South Africa, not only in Africa, but everywhere in the world. We see it in the way things are going. And we can't just keep quiet and let things go. That is why today I've got a very special guest, a person who has been in the leadership position for a while and is still advancing in the leadership position. And I'm talking about none other than Vusi Maupa. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much. What an intro.
Big men like yourself, they need more than that.
Thank you. I'm so humbled. I'm so honored. I'm a big fan of your show, by the way.
Thank you so much.
One of the subscribers. You're doing incredibly good work. Thanks for that. Good to be here.
Thank you, sir, for being here. I really appreciate your time. I want us to talk about the element of leadership, but before we get there, let us let people know who are you and what do you want people to know about you.
Great stuff. Thanks. And look, I think when people ask me that, I first ask myself, under what context are you asking me about myself? But I think when it comes to leadership, it's I'm someone who hails from born in the rural of Kwandebele, Kwaggafontein. Grew up in Mpumalanga Witbank, but I think even at the primary school level, I was someone who was fortunate to be exposed to leadership, or fortunate to go for leadership opportunities and take them. I remember vividly one instance where I was responsible for ringing the school bell, and that came about because in my class I was the shortest guy, and that came with bullying, and So one particular day I was walking very early in the school and I saw the headmaster with the school bell. I politely asked her if I can, just for the day. And when I rang the bell, it was so amazing when I saw the very same people that bullies me running and sweating their way in the school, making sure that they obey the instruction that I was handing out. So I fell in love with the leadership from there. I was like, there is a way that even as small as I am, I can influence people bigger than me to go in a particular way that I wanted to. And from there on, it was primary school, involved in the class representative. I went to a high school in Mpumalanga, Bongintsimbi Comprehensive School in Witbank. Grade 8 is still class representative council. Grade 9, I joined the debating team. And then a year later, I was a part of the executive committee. And then a year later, I was the part of the leading the school debating team as the chairman. And in the very same year, I was also the school deputy chairperson. So that maps somehow my leadership also coming to the University of Pretoria, where I founded an organization called Foundation for Ethical Youth Leadership, and being busy in the student parliament. And that all boils down to where it came from ringing that bell. Then I saw the influence and how positive it can make a change in the world. So I guess in a nutshell, that's pretty much about me when it comes to leadership. Yeah.
And where are you now?
Currently, I serve in the Toastmasters International as a division director. If I think simply put, you would say as the mayor of Toastmasters in Pretoria. That is to say, I'm overseeing about 20 clubs or 20 branches that are in Pretoria, Hartbeespoort and Rustenburg. That's a leadership position that I'm at now.
Wow. If you know about Toastmasters, you'll understand the magnitude of the position he holds right now. Toastmasters is an international organization of public speaking. And as he said, this is nothing that just a small person would go into. You have to have a series of expertise and skills that allow you to be trusted in that position. And I know when I met you, you were a president. You were you were a club president.
Sure.
And the club name is the President Toastmasters, right?
Yeah.
President Toastmasters Club. That's why I got confused there.
Yeah.
So you rose from being a club president to a division president. Surely there's something about you that you know you have about leadership and that other people can also see in you about leadership. What is it? What is your view of leadership and what is your understanding of leadership?
Great. Look, that's a brilliant question. And perhaps before I come into answering that, my view about leadership, it's a fascinating story how I ended up being the division director. First, I think it had to do with people that saw potential and they said, we see potential in you. I think you can do more. And I'm forever grateful for them. That's a previous division director of Division A, Kiamu Malebalo. And I think Enrutsuro also had lunch, also voicing his confidence on me. So it's I was a club president. That was a year after I was a treasurer, and then I was elected to be a club president. And as I'm serving as a club president, I get a call in December from the division director Kiamo and said, "Look, where are you?" I'm like, "No, I'm in Limpopo. I'm at home." He's like, "Okay, when I come back, can you have coffee?" "Sure, no worries. I mean, if the big boss wants to see you, what else can you say?" And I take up an opportunity. We have coffee. It's like, "Look, one of my guys who's responsible for the area, which was Centurion, about 5 clubs in Centurion, has resigned due to unforeseen circumstances." And I was like, "Okay, so how can I help? We're looking for someone to come and caretake. But the problem is, because you came in late, we won't give you any credit or recognition for the role that you play." I was like, no. I'm happy to serve, right? I joined a team of about 7 area directors and I become the 7th area director. And just since Jan 2020. And come May 2020, there are elections for the division director. So logically, you need to be a club president, at least, and be an area director for a year, and then move to a division director. And I happened, and as I said, I had chats with Andrew Tsuro, who's quite a formidable Toastmaster, by the way. We chat about it, and it's like, okay, let's go ahead. I'm like, okay, this is quite it's an interesting space to be. And that also speaks to how my views on leadership. For me, it was nearly beyond position. I'm not fascinated by positions, right? I think in my view, someone who views leadership as a position, they are in for quite disappointments because you can be in a position without influence. So for me, it was, how can I be in a space where influence positive change, where influence growth, where influence success in people that are around. And that pretty much it is, right? Because now I'm in a space where I can strategically sit and work with the team, and how do we serve the people. That's my view on leadership. It's about how you given the position that you're at, through the confidence that people had on you, how do you influence the people that you are serving, or how do you serve them well for them to be better? And with that, how do you apply your mind with your team to form strategies that ensure that you achieve a set vision as a team? Yeah.
And I think most people, you mentioned the point of saying sometimes holding a position doesn't mean influence.
Yeah.
And I think when we see the way our countries are being led right now, position becomes the main thing that these people are after. And they think with the position, they can manipulate things to go their way. And they forget the element of influence, where you motivate people to act within their power and within their own personal motivation to do what you want them to do. And you mentioned a lot, you talked about strategy, whatever strategy. So you mentioned the word strategy a couple of times. How does strategic leadership come into play? Or what is the difference between leadership and strategic leadership?
Yeah. So that's a big question. I'm sure academics and authors have written quite length about this, and I don't have an answer, but at least I'll offer you my views of how these things, how I see them. And look, to your first point, it's quite true. There's this thin line between influence and manipulation. So you'd have people coming to position thinking they are influencing, only that they are manipulating for a certain driven agenda, which is quite toxic and, in my view, bluntly wrong. It shouldn't be done in the leadership space. But I think when it comes to leadership and strategy, it's also sometimes we like to use them or apply them interchangeably, thinking it's the same thing, and it's not. It's similar but not the same in a sense, because in a leadership you are, in a sense, where you as I said, you influence it, right? And there are certain things that you need to do right as a leader. And I think it's John C. Maxwell that says you can like people without leading them, but you cannot lead people without liking them. So some of the things that as a leader you must do includes working with people, includes emotional intelligence with your people, with your team. How do you work with them well, right? But you can't all achieve the results by just liking people. As a good leader, someone that they cheer, someone when they see they just smile. You need to have results, and that's where the strategy comes in. Merging the results, merging leadership and strategy that delivers results. And strategy means it differs from different points, right? And in teams, it's about the law of marshals. It's about cover and shoot. If your team is working on something, how do I cover for you whilst you run for your goal and keep on protecting you from the whatever it's attacking us? You achieve your goal. How do you cover from me? Working as a team together, and also working with a team and allowing each other to think independently for us to pursue goals that are genuinely ours. Because as a leader, you get into a mistake or a trap of thinking that you have this big, you have anarchy of, or your goals or your ideas are the biggest thing to ever happen. And you sort of impose them on your people, which is wrong. But with the strategy, you must understand that everyone within your team has the ability to think, and they are there because they wanted to offer something. So how do you enable them to think independently and to independently offer what they want whilst working with the team? Again, how do you make sure that you cover them whilst they pursue them? And then how do they cover you whilst you pursue whatever you want to do? So it's that collaboration. And also, depending on when there are problems, strategies comes in as a team to look at your vision, how you work around solving those particular challenges that you face.
Wow.
Yeah.
Big point you said there, and I grasped some few points, and you mentioned the element of you cannot lead people without liking them. And you touched on the element of emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And you touched on the element of you cannot manipulate people to do what you want them to do. So when I try and connect what you just said, there's a strong element of understanding people's emotions and getting in touch with people's emotions, the people that you lead. Once you are attached on that level, you have now to implement the element of emotional intelligence to understand what an individual needs in that particular space, or what they are driven by. Then find a way of making it work collaboratively. When we look at our leadership today, let's take it to a countrywide.
Yeah.
In your view, what is missing in our leaders?
Yeah. Look, in my view, it's quite interesting that you mentioned that, and we have a serious leadership crisis. And then my friend Andrew would always say that we have a surplus of leaders, but we lack the quality of leaders that we have. And I think again it goes back to a thing of when our political leaders or business leaders or whatever formation they come from, they take on a responsibility, or they assume a responsibility. Most take positions, all right? They go into the leadership space because of a title and a position. And what can that benefit me? If someone says I can get into that position and monetize from the position to gain for a certain gain, that's a problem itself. But if you are a leader and you genuinely care about your people, right, you go into the space, position, yes, they put you in a position, they vote you in a position, whether it's a business meeting, whether it's a country, voting you under in a ballot box. That's fair, we're voting you into a position, but how do you remain credible to the promises that you made, that made me to wake up in the morning and chew a 5 meter long a line and stand there just to cast the ballot for you. I'm doing that because you promised me, right? We are having this suffrage, and when we're having this agreement between the two of us, I need you when we are there to give that credibility that you're going to implement it. So there's that void that happens between our political leaders when they occupy positions versus what made them to be there, the trust that we gave them, the promises that they made. And that's pretty much disturbing. And again, if you really care about your people, as I said, you can lead them much, much more better than what we've seen quite recently.
So where does it start on an individual level? Like, because I can see that it's more a character issue with what you just said.
Yeah.
You sell us a dream that we all buy into. We think you are our solution. But when you get there, something just changes. So where does it start on an individual level? What would you say anybody who aspires to be in that position should have on their personal level? Where does it start?
Look, I think I told you I started a foundation called Foundation for Ethical Leadership, and that's where I learned a lot about ethics. And one thing it has to start with, it's ethics. And that to me, it means that at that individual level, are you comfortable to do, when you do something as an individual, are you comfortable if that thing that you're doing can be brought into the daylight, can be a newspaper headline? Will you be happy with it coming out there? Right? There are some private stuff, obviously, that you do that we're not talking about, but something personal level. If you steal a file from your office, and if they had to report tomorrow on Pretoria News and say a miracle stole a file, will you be proud of that? That speaks about ethics and also integrity. And that's look. Integrity, it's not for sale. You can't go and say I'm buying integrity. It comes with you. You know, your honesty, the deep level of understanding and of the implication of the small actions you take towards the greater well-being of the people that you are serving. Wow. That's to me is it. Look, as an individual, if you can get make sure that not a holy cow, but at least be someone that we can be trusted with, someone that has integrity, live by their words, and they deliver. If you can't deliver what you promised me, at least bring me into confidence. Why is it? Tell me why. Where's the problem? How can I help? If it's delay, until when? So there should be this conversation and communication between those leading and serving, and I think that's where, again, accountability comes in, which we've seen people avoiding accountability for some time.
Wow. It makes sense why you are elected for the position that you're holding right now. No, I'm sure the people can attest to what, because I mean, you have shared a mouthful, and I really need to go back and watch this episode again to just now take notes and write down one by one, because leadership is a very big thing. And on a personal level, it needs to start with you, as you said. Issues of ethics, integrity, that's something that you don't need people to be putting spotlights on top of you for you to develop those kind of things. It's things that we need to develop personally. So tell me, in parting short, what do you want people to take out of this interview?
Look, there's nothing in specific that I would like people to take out of this interview, but perhaps a self-reflection if they want to go ahead and be in the leadership space. I guess one is how genuine are you as an individual that wants to come into a space and say, I'm serving, or I'm leading others, I'm working with teams. And when you do that, how are you going to sustain that during times where things are bad, during times where things are nice and it's easy to do the wrong things? How are you going to keep going? And look, the last thing that is key to us, it's how do you build relationships with people that you're serving? You may be serving 1,000, 1 million, 1 billion people, but at least the small relationships that you build with those that you can, they go a long way. And leadership, relationships are at the crux or the core of leadership. Hence, in Toastmasters, we speak about this. There are programs, if you come through, where you get taught about how to build strategic relationships. You get taught about the value of time management, which is an issue of integrity. If I say I'm coming at 2:30, I need to be here at 2:30. You get taught about thinking critically, which I think for me it's one of those organizations or institutions that give us that platforms where even you can get evaluation on the spot. You don't have to wait for your term to end to say you did well or wrong as a leader. You get evaluation as you go, which empowers you. So those are some of the great opportunities. I think they are quite key for anyone who really wants to take on this leadership journey.
I see.
Yeah.
So what do people do when they want to join the Toastmasters Club? How do they get involved with Toastmasters? What's the procedure?
Look, Toastmasters, it boasts about 143 clubs. 100 clubs in 143 countries. So it has clubs in over 143 countries, right? And if you're in South Africa, you come to Pretoria, we have quite a number of clubs, about 20 of them. The first thing you do, I think even if you Google online or you Google, just go Toastmasters Club near me, and it should be leading you to a page where you can click into the Toastmasters.org page, and then it will show you a list of the clubs that are near you. Just click there, it will give you the contact details of who to get in touch with. Give them a call, visit without even signing up or before even being part of it. Visit it 2, 3 times, 10 times until you're sure that this thing works for you. Go around a couple of clubs and see which one speaks to you in terms of the dynamics that are there, how they conduct their events, how the composition is at. And once you do that, you're happy, just speak to the person that you got in touch with, and they will help you started right away.
Wonderful. Mr. Vusi Maupa, thank you so much for joining me today. You shared some valuable nuggets and I appreciate them. On a personal level, I have been very, very blessed and helped by the information you shared today. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure, sir. And as I said, I'm humbled to be part of this great movement that you have started, TMP. And it's an incredible honor to share this small knowledge or insight that I have with you and your audience. And I'm looking forward to further engagements with you.
Indeed.
All right.
We'll have you back.
Great stuff.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's finished.
Miracle perspective is in the perspective. It's finished.